But the space to do that, I didn't have because all of these requests came my way for our team to accomplish. So leadership deemed this as priority and not this as priority. And now here we are. So there's context to it. I think that fear is definitely, it's valid. We all feel that way sometimes of like, oh snap, can I really do this?
Welcome to the Brand Brief podcast, where we have candid conversations with marketing leaders about the key strategies that are driving brand growth. This podcast is powered by Brand Method Media Group, and I'm your host, Kelly Kelly. Today's guest is Latasia Cox, founder and CMO of Framework Marketing Consulting, where she and her team help organizations untangle messy systems and disconnected teams by rebuilding how work flows across people, data, and tools. Welcome to the show, Latasia.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun and
All right.
a little uncomfortable for some marketers.
Well, I like that. I like, that's the whole point of the show, is that we want to challenge the audience who are marketing leaders to think differently, to expand, their thought processes. So I think this is going to be good. So to set some context, can you walk me through what falls under your purview at Framework Marketing Consulting and where are you spending most of your time?
So for my time, really, it's bringing our creative systems knowledge and pairing it with the client's organizational knowledge. So they know everything that is going on in their organization with their people, how things are going, the truth of it all. And what we come in to do is just, complement them with that. So my time is normally spent where I'm able to see the big picture outside of what is happening within their organization that we're working to fix. It's more of, okay, we understand what's going on in the current state, but we also need to take into account transition and future state and all of the different pieces that come into play for that to work from the operational side of things. So I spend most of my time trying to make sure that we're all navigating together. And so it's never that we're not taking into account something that's really important that's going to be showing up in the future state end that is missed somewhere as we're trying to capture what's going on in current state or as we're in implementation mode during transition. So it's basically trying to keep all of the cats herded in one area, everyone happy and everyone good, while also asking the right questions so that we're thinking of the right things as we move through this engagement. Because it's usually for a good minute, almost a year usually. And it's a lot going on, a lot of different moving parts. And so keeping everyone together and organized is usually where I'm at.
I think that makes total sense because, as things are progressing, nothing is happening on its own, right? So whatever marketing is doing is not happening independent from what sales is doing, from what operations is doing. So there has to be some sort of unison, somebody to hold all that together as things are steady moving. If you have a transition in your marketing that's going to impact sales, you can't be like, sales, hold up, don't keep going. Like,
pause.
Right.
We're not doing anything yet. No.
It has to be all brought together.
Yeah. That's how you get the best traction on the other end, and how training and adoption and everyone is actually using the new systems at the end of everything. And that's when you see the outcomes. Because the funny part about especially where I spend most of my time, again, herding the cats, it's one of those things where it's like, this is how you get to the end result. Like, we don't want a Swiss cheese situation where, oh, well, some people are adopting the new workflow method. Some people are going by the new ideal client profiles that we documented together. Some people, no, because then you get some results some ways, but most of it, it's not going to go the way that you wanted and what your idea of success was. And so no one wins. So it's like we all got to hold the line, work together, and that's basically where I come into play for all of that. So, yeah.
Speaking of working together, so
Hmm.
most marketing leaders know for a fact that they are going to be responsible for having better visibility into what happens after a lead goes to sales, but they don't always act on it. What's the real reason that this gap stays in place?
It's layered. So I'll say this. It's layered in the sense there are two parts to me about this. It's layered because they're always building the plane while flying it. Always.
Mhm.
It's always like, well, we're being the internal agency for everyone in the organization. They need this, that, and the third for sales enablement. But also we have to do what we're doing to make sure brand awareness is out there. So we're pushing things out, making sure the newsletter is going and making sure that there's traction on social media. Like they're building the plane while flying it. So there's that aspect to it. And then there's also the fact that the other layer to me is the support is not there. So the support to slow down, the support from leadership to say, you know what, it's okay to bring in additional help to look at what's going on so that we can actually build a system that properly supports what you're trying to do, which inherently helps everyone because then you get the data and the visibility that you're needing to do your job. How else would you know what works and what doesn't? So that blockage, it's twofold in my mind of they're building the plane while flying it. So they're too busy to even stop to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to figure out what our ideal client profiles are. And I'm going to do focus groups and talk to people and document all of that so that we can use it in our marketing. Them doing that, it's usually few and far between. And then on top of that, the lack of leadership support. Leadership has to be like, yeah, this is important. We see the importance of you having the system in place and the buy-in from us to say, yeah, you know what? Go ahead, take the time and get the help that you need, the support, the expertise to come in and help you map all of that out, document all of that out so that we can all know what's happening and we can all see it and we can all act on it so that we can all actually become more successful in what we're trying to do for the organization. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Okay. So, follow up question to that. So, let's say that you
Mm-hmm.
get your support, you have everything that you need as the marketing leader of the team to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time to answer for results or no results. So,
Yeah.
we've had conversations about marketing leaders just kind of
Mm-hmm.
it's a natural fear to
Yeah.
look under the hood and see, okay, I push for all this stuff, like I push for this, I push for that,
Yeah.
and once I really look, things might not be working.
Yep.
Where do you think that fear actually comes from?
I honestly, imposter syndrome. A lot of people don't think they're as good at what they do without the busyness of it all as they have made it out to seem. And it's not even like they don't know what they're doing. It's the fact that that data visibility is not there. Again, the system structure is not there for them to be properly supported. So then as it's funny because I'm about to do a newsletter about this whole thing because start a newsletter about this whole thing called Everybody Thinks It's Your Fault because that's how it feels.
Because they do.
That's what it is. Everyone thinks it's your fault.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that, and I don't know when we'll air this, but it'll most likely be out by that time. But it's basically, it's called Everybody Thinks It's Your Fault. And this is the exact conversation. So Kelly, like when we were talking about it, it definitely helped prompt like that idea of like, yeah, because as a marketer, it's on you. Why aren't we performing the way that we should be as for our social media campaigns or for our brand overall? Why is it that when sales goes to talk to people, they don't know who we are? And your job is to make sure that they do know who we are before we even get
Right.
to them. That's what sales will tell you all the time. And to me is where those, those digs come in and you're thinking, am I really as good at what I do as I think I am? Or is that because all of those little things, it's like death by a thousand cuts that it comes at you And so you're thinking that fear comes in and it's like, I've been had. They're going to find me out. Like I need to find a safe haven. Like, oh my goodness. No, I can't have them look under the hood because then they're going to see how much I haven't been able to get done, how
Mm.
much I haven't actually accomplished, how I haven't been making the mark for our goals at all. And it's twofold for that. It's yes, they're going to see everything, but without that visibility, you won't be able to know what you need. You won't be able to say, well, I wasn't able to do these things because this support structure wasn't here. I needed my life cycle journeys to be mapped out, but the space to do that I didn't have because all of these requests came my way for our team to accomplish. So leadership deemed this as priority and not this as priority. And now here we are. So there's context to it. I think that fear is definitely, it's valid. You know, we all feel that way sometimes of like, oh snap, did I really, am I real? Can I really do this? Is this really my fault? Like everyone thinks it is. But if you really think through all of the things that most marketers do, they are holding that brand up by the bootstraps. Like they
Yeah.
are doing everything that they can with what they have and being able to be that scrappy. Like that's what you want, because then put that scrappiness with data, put that scrappiness with a system that supports them with the right tools and platforms that actually help their workflow streamline, and you've got gold.
Yeah.
So that is where I think the fear is valid, but we can flip it and let leadership know, like, look, yes, these things fell through, but this is why. This is the context. They weren't supported. They were running a
Hmm.
million miles a minute while also flying the plane while building it. So there's accountability that needs to be had, but on all sides. So that's where I think that fear stems from. But at the same time, that same fear can be, you know, if you have all the things in place and you have, like you said, everything's there. And now you get the visibility that you've been needing and you see the gaps, you see the bottlenecks. Flip it. It will make your life, your work life especially, so much easier because you'll know what works, what doesn't work, and what happened, and be able to always build the narrative of this is the gap we saw. This is what we did because we saw that gap. These are the results from all of the work that we accomplished to help fill that and make sure that doesn't happen again. And you build onto that over and over again to the point where it's like leadership's like, oh no, I trust marketing. What do they want? Oh, they
Right.
can have whatever they want. They can have whatever they want. They brought in how much revenue? And yeah, that's fine. Brand awareness went up. Our NPS score went up. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's the fear is valid though. It's completely
Yeah.
understandable, but it's not your fault.
No, not all of it. Jeez
Not all of
Louise.
it.
So I throughout my career, I have the core belief that marketing's role is to support sales, right? I think that our role is in supportive of sales because sales
Mm-hmm.
essentially has to get them over the line, but we are
Yeah.
supposed to be serving them and nurturing and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What beliefs do you have about the relationship between sales and marketing that you feel like leadership would push back on?
I would definitely say that marketing, even though marketing is in support of sales, marketing is more revenue related than leadership believes that they are. Leadership thinks usually that marketing is, again, to your point, they are in support of sales. The whole point of why you're here is to give them qualified leads and make sure that it's easier for them to sell. It's not even them selling at this point. Everyone wants them to just close. Like that's what they want them to do. But the part that gets me about how they think of marketing and the relationship between marketing and sales is that, yes, marketing supports and serves sales, and they're supposed to actually, provide the qualified leads and get sales to be where it's like, oh, they're just closing. Like, yes. And marketing also is revenue related. There's ROI to marketing. And throughout my 20 years of doing this, leadership consistently doesn't believe that to be the case. And that's where the pushback has definitely been for like consistently. So I want to talk about that for a second of like, okay, first of all, ROI is always a moving target. Like everyone's like,
Always.
market, oh my gosh, marketing doesn't do ROI. That's not, and it's like, no, that's not true. There's different ways that marketing actually
Yeah.
does account for ROI beyond revenue, but still influential to revenue, you know? So to me, there's five of them, and it's like that are like the basics that can be kind of strewn out to others and be more detailed. So like there's attributable ROI, which is attribution. Everyone knows that one. It's like, okay, yep, this campaign brought in this many leads, which ended up in this many deals being closed. That's it's a clear cut situation. What I think we miss sometimes is other types of ROI, like transformational. So that's not something that's typically like thought of. So when I say transformational, I mean, how is marketing transforming how the organization is tapping into places? Or maybe they got into a new market. You know, marketing got access to a new market. Maybe they've improved employee satisfaction in some way because they are also doing internal marketing. There are ways that you can measure the transformational aspects of ROI that marketing does. I think also efficiency is another form of ROI. How did marketing help efficiency with people? So, for example, as things go through the sales process, did they shorten the sales velocity? Did the sales cycle shorten? Did people not have as many questions to ask
Mhm.
because their questions were already answered because content was going out in a very specific way? Sales enablement, like all of that speaks to efficiency ROI and how efficient marketing was able to make it for sales to do their job. There is definitely ways of of measuring that, putting metrics to all of these pieces of ROI. But yeah, those are just a couple. Like necessity is another one that I think of where it's like, was it easy to use where a product was put out and before maybe the first iteration of that product, it it didn't do so great. So now they did a second edition, and it was because product marketing came into place and they got feedback and they put that into the actual new design, marketed it, it sold. That trajectory and
Yeah.
showing how that ease of use for the customers, maybe the price value was able to go up because the value of the product was greater than it was before. Like there's so many ways that marketing actually directly attributes to ROI that I think leadership doesn't take into account or think about. So
I
yeah.
would agree. And I think probably much like you, I am the same way. I've been in this business so long, but I think I've always had a natural thing about reverse engineering commercials or marketing that I'm
Yeah.
served. Ever since I was little, it's very bizarre. But I've always had this thing about when I was little, I remember noticing brand colors, not knowing what the word brand meant, but I would watch commercials and figure out that the lady had on a purple outfit, which matched
Yeah.
the packaging of the product. Like,
Yeah.
so my brain has always
It
gravitated
was
towards
already
that.
there. You were
It
all
was
up in the color
already there
psychology
as a
of
small,
things as a kid.
yes,
Like
as
what?
a child. I remember watching commercials and doing that. And I do this still as an adult. So,
Mm,
to your point, one thing that I remember this time last year is that a lot of, or not even a lot, a few of the
mhm.
retailers that have, online and they do e-com,
Yeah.
a few of them were prominently putting at the banner like no tariffs because they
Mm.
knew that that was a point of friction, whether people said it or not, whether it had been an
Mhm.
issue or not. And because of the context of the whole tariff situation of, you could get a bill later, that is going to give
Yeah.
people pause and be like, well, I don't know if I want to order because I might get it. So I would
Yep.
notice that some of these e-com stores were putting at their banner, like right where they would put
Mm.
like 50% off, it would be like a standing banner to say, it's three words that I'm certain if we pulled the numbers had a positive impact because I
Yep.
know that was a pain point for a lot of people when it came to online shopping this time
Y-
last year. So
Yeah.
to your point, However that came to be, somebody sat in a meeting and said, okay, marketing, in terms of messaging, we need to let our customers know
Mm-hmm.
you, there is not going to be an issue with tariffs. We don't need to explain. We don't need to lie. Don't need to be no big whole political. We just need to let them know because
Yep.
people are afraid of this. I don't want
Yep.
people afraid to shop with us
No. And then
because
that
they're going to get
directly
screwed up.
like impacts the ROI that
Right.
marketing has, where it's like, great, that just made it easier for the customer to
Exactly.
understand exactly what's going on, and thus they can buy accordingly. So yeah, and that to your point, I wonder where that feedback came from.
Yeah.
Because that tells me if you did that, either marketing is paying attention, like something good and not fruitful, but something efficient is happening on the back end. Whenever I see, and I, same with you of like, you see colors and how they match packaging and like, and all that. I would see something like that and I would immediately think of the rev op side of things, of like the revenue operations behind it. I'm like, you got feedback from sales and that's how you were able to put that messaging
Yeah.
on there because they heard that from clients. And so you said, so from sales to, that means that tells me you all communicate. That
Right.
tells me that you have some synergy there, some synchronicity with internally for your operations. Kudos to you. I like to see it like that,
From
that kind
paying
of thing.
attention. Yeah.
Yes. And
Because
it's
I know
just,
personally,
yeah,
I would sometimes comment if I was served an ad
yeah.
from my favorite e-com retailer
Mm.
and I liked it and I would be inclined to purchase it this time last year, I might drop in the comments and I've seen other people do it. Are there tariffs on? Like, what's going on with this? So
Yep.
someone had to be monitoring that enough to
Yep.
say, hey, we need to have a conversation. And, as sensitive as this is, people were inclined to say nothing, but business wise, we need to let them
Mhm.
know if this is if this is not going to be an issue, we need to prominently say that. And it
Yeah.
can be short and brief and we don't have to go deep, but we need to
Mm-mm.
let people know because they're not buying. We don't want people not to
No.
buy because they're afraid of like
No.
they're going to get charged a tariff.
Yeah. And again, like that to me is such a good sign of listening and understanding what the market is doing, what's
Yeah.
happening culturally, because that needs to be taken into account. And to your point of the internal communication that's happening, because so many silos go on with organizations where teams don't talk to each other. Sales doesn't talk to
Yeah.
marketing. Marketing definitely doesn't want to talk to sales. And then operations is like, I
Off
need
on
the
their
two of you
own.
to, I need the two of you to talk, but I don't want to get y'all together. Fulfillment, like delivery team is like, look, can you just tell us what we need to take
Yeah.
care of and we'll
I
just
just need
handle
a
it. We don't want to
decision.
get in this mess with y'all. Like, and it's a whole thing. And the funniest part is everyone operates this way for the most part, from
Mhm.
the biggest organizations to the smallest. And so it's just, it's always interesting, fascinating to see, especially brands in the wild. I would post sometimes on LinkedIn of like, because, driving around, you see, especially here in Atlanta, you see trucks and vans, branded vans and stuff all the time.
Oh yeah, the wrapped. Mhm.
Yep, the wrapped vans and the wrapped trucks. And it's always interesting to see. Again, my brain would go off and be like, so yeah, you talked to this team talked to this team, and that's how you got that. Because some of the things that, like the slogans, the taglines that they have, they're so clever and smart. The way that their vans are designed, like it's really smart and stuff. And you could tell who is listening to each other and who's not listening to each other or anyone for that matter. The legacy brands especially have this problem
Yeah.
where they don't change. And it's like,
So,
oh my.
speaking of ROI, what is a metric that you're seeing that clients are no longer tracking? They just don't find it as useful.
You know what's funny? It's the vanity metrics, which is it's very nice to see of like marketers being like opens don't matter anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Website visits, like that doesn't matter. Likes on a post, that doesn't, great, and it's like, good, what are you paying attention to? And they'll say conversion rates and I'm like, yes. Like
Right.
we're on the right track, y'all. But it's hard to get people there sometimes, but when you see it, you can't unsee it, of just the importance of No, I want to know the actual, like, what's the realness that's happening with this engagement? That's great. We have a website. Awesome. We have traffic. Okay. How many people are actually converting? Does our website convert? Does that convert for sales? Does it like, what's happening with that so that we can understand where people are clicking, where are they engaging most? And then how does that become a sale? How does that become a return visitor and a return customer?
And
So,
also it's an opportunity to understand where the gap is because we know
mm,
these things are useful. Like
yeah.
so some clients might say, "Well, what good is a like?" And it's like, well, no, it's not the end all be all, but let's figure out why people are liking and then also not moving forward. Is it something that has to do with messaging? Does it have to do with we're not optimizing the post to make it easy for them to
Yeah.
convert? So there's also that. There has to be a deep dive because these things aren't necessarily channels or tools that we should do away with, right?
No.
You
Yeah.
have a website, you need a website. So you're looking at the metrics and you're saying, okay, we've got this many people coming. This doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything if they're not converting. Well, let's dissect why they wouldn't be. Let's look at all the elements of the site and figure out why they wouldn't be so that we
Yeah.
can get to them doing the thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back to the different types of ROI
Mhm.
of how are you going to be able to even tell that story to leadership of this is what we saw, this is what we did about it, this is the result of what we did from what we've done. Like, you can't tell that story if you're not looking at the right things and understanding the context of the right things. One thing recently that happened with a client was that she was asking, like, hey, wait, we're getting website traffic metrics differently from like this platform. And then this platform says we got this many clicks on the landing page,
Mhm.
but this platform says we got one. Like, why is that happening? And so what I want to add to that in terms of metrics and understanding them is data literacy, because you can look at numbers all day long, especially coming from different platforms. But there needs to be an understanding of how different platforms measure different things in different ways. And so it's, yes, the metrics are important, the numbers are important, but from my standpoint and my team's standpoint, it's what's the trend? What's the
Mhm.
pattern? Because yes, platforms are going to read things differently. Email browsers all read things differently. CRM platforms read things differently in their own way. But if you're working with different tools and different tools that are not talking to each other, they are disconnected, not integrated at all. It's bad, but you can still work around it by looking at the same types of numbers. So looking at conversion rates that you're seeing from each platform and trying to understand the trends. And it's just a matter of like, are they all tracking in the same direction or are they tracking all over the place? So another reason, best practice of having a system architecture where all of
Mhm.
your platforms are actually in sync and integrated with one another, and no platform is telling you is copying the same data. So you're looking at things differently each way. Just going to put that in there. It's a best practice. But if you are disconnected, like so many are, I understand it's a lot to put them together. But if they are disconnected, you're looking for trends and patterns. Like, it's not cut and dry. It's not black and white. It's context. It's gray, and it's okay. And being okay with that and explaining it to leadership when they ask for the numbers, eventually, like, hey, how do we do this month? How do we do this quarter? And if you're seeing numbers track differently on different platforms that you're using, take a breath and really look at, okay, for our conversion rates across our platforms that are tracking conversion rates, are they trending up? Or are they trending down? Are they trending in the middle? Is there a baseline situation that we're seeing? That's what you're looking for, patterns. Pattern recognition is everything when it comes to data literacy. So just want to make a note of that, of just, it's good to know what to track in terms of the metrics that you're looking at and that they're not just vanity numbers like likes. But as you are looking at the numbers that matter, don't be afraid if you're seeing numbers that differ, because you're able to actually determine from a pattern recognition standpoint of, oh, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, we see that these are increasing in general.
So you have
Like,
to take it
breathe.
that step further. right? You have
Yeah.
to take it a step further. It's like, okay, yeah, we're moving past vanity metrics. Now we're looking at this, but we also need to consider patterns, not just this middle
Yep.
piece. We need to take it a step further.
Yep. Yeah. And that really helps with the big picture of understanding as a whole, what's your organization doing and how's it tracking? And then how are you able to use that for forecasting? So it helps with understanding context of your organization in general and how things come together from a data perspective, because there's so much that you can
Yeah.
take into account. And that rabbit hole, it goes in so many squirrely ways.
So, what would be a good first step for marketers to get their operational side of the business together? Because that's going to be that kind of tie, that uniter.
It is. So first of all, because this is a lot, it's layered. You're building the plane while flying it. And then on top of that, you may not have the systemic support that you need from your organization or leadership or how workflows are, how things are organized. So first, take a breath because it's a lot and it can be overwhelming. Second, figure out your current state. Like that's the biggest thing you can do. One small chunk at a time. Not like, crap, what is everything that we're doing right now? Just one step at a time. And the way I would prioritize finding out your current state and documenting is just what is the most important to you all right now. Look at that instance and figure out, okay, what is the current state of this? And I say current state as in, what is the plan? What are our goals for this? Do we have everything that we need to actually meet those goals? Because that's when you'll start to see those gaps. So
Right.
when you look at those and just ask yourself those three things, say you have a big brand awareness campaign that you're trying to do, or you have a trade show. This happens a lot with our clients. Like they have trade shows that they go to all the time. So trade shows are important. Great. That's good to know. Okay. What are your goals for the trade show? You don't have goals. Okay. Well, then first, that's a gap. Let's talk about that where in your current state, you can say, all right, well, we do have a lot of trade shows on the docket right now, but we also realize we actually don't have goals set for them. Okay. We're going to clock that. We're going to keep that in mind. Next, if we had goals in place, what are some things right now that are helping us in order to meet those goals, those potential goals? And what are things that are not really helping us right now? What are some frustrations? The friction, you're looking for friction. So what are things that are not super smooth? Like maybe when you go to a trade show and you're in the marketing team, you're doing trade shows, you're handing leads off to sales, but then you have no idea what happens afterwards.
Right.
So that would be in your current state. Oh, our lead routing, our handoff, we have no idea what's going on once the leads go to sales. We don't know what worked, what didn't, if those leads even became sales. Like we have no visibility. So that's what I mean. Sit down. I know that's hard, but sit down for a second and just think through your current state of, okay, the most important thing that we're working on right now, can we do it really well with what we've got right now and how we're doing things right now in this current realm? Once you get that, then all the other answers can come into play, but you need to understand where you're at. And then once you know that, then you again chip away at it very slowly. The most important thing, if it's the same thing, then it's like, okay, that first question, goals. Okay, we know what our goals are now. Great, perfect. Okay, can we meet these goals with how we're working right now and what we have right now? If the answer is no, then where are the gaps? Where are the bottlenecks? Then you can be like, okay, well, if we're missing data visibility and we don't have a reporting tool, then it sounds like we need to figure out what reporting tool would be great. But before you try and find a reporting tool, figure out what metrics you're actually looking for. Never, this is what I tell clients and everyone all the time, it's never about the tool. It's never about the tool.
No.
You can pick so many there's so many tools out there. It's about how your team works. Once you know your current state and how things actually work, then you can say, oh, okay, well, based off of how we work and the data that we need, these tools, it narrows it down. These tools are what makes the most sense. So that's basically what I would say in a nutshell, long story short, but long, is how to get started.
To your point, it is a lot though, Latasia. I think people want marketing to be this little cute little function that doesn't require much, doesn't need a lot of resources. They can
Yep.
add people, delete people, they can run it all through AI. Like it, if you are doing it right,
I laugh to keep from crying. This is like, in the words of Lauren
because it
Hill, it could all be so simple.
because it is you if you're going to do it gets granular.
It
And
does.
you're just talking about your lane of it. And then
Yeah.
as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about our lane in terms of like how deep the content piece goes. And then sales got their
Yep.
own. These are not little small,
Mm.
insignificant functions of a business when it comes to marketing that some leadership considers. They almost
Yeah.
consider marketing this nice to have, but
Yep.
should budgets come into play or we don't really feel like
The
paying
first to
people to
get
play on the
chopped.
internet, it gets
Yep.
chopped without realizing for everything, every piece of the funnel or the journey or however you want to word it,
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of moving parts for each
Yeah.
piece for top,
Yeah.
middle, bottom,
Yeah.
trigger, awareness, convert, however you
Everything.
want to label it. You can go deep if you care to have results. And to your point, going deep with marketing, it's not going to really make an impact if the other departments are not also. So you have to have that tie-in
Yeah.
together because nothing we do is completely independent of the other
No.
departments,
It,
right?
the
From between marketing,
intersectionality.
the
Yep.
intersectionality is prevalent whether you want to admit it or not, whether
Yep.
we are actually collaborating or not. There's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
spillage there.
Yeah.
So if you really want to have a successful brand, awareness does matter. No, you
Mm-hmm.
can't always put a number on it. Not
Nope.
necessarily. You can't
Nope.
always attribute your appearance at a trade show, for example, to a sale. However, to your point, there
Mm-hmm.
should be consideration for ROI around that. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing your budget for the year and you say, okay, I just had a conversation about this with a client actually yesterday.
Yeah.
There's 5 trade shows in your area.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what is the cost to participate in each? Okay, well,
Yep.
these 3 are out of budget because we're not there yet. So this one has
Yep.
the budget. How can we leverage this? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we're a B2B company, our sales cycle is 6 to 8 months. We could have people manning the booth,
Mm-hmm.
but that may or may not pan out. Like, what can we put on this as a way to get value from it? But
Yeah.
somebody's got to be doing that. Like a
Yeah.
marketer or operator, somebody has to
Yeah.
sit down and identify that in addition to all the other moving
All
parts
the other.
between marketing
There's
and sales.
so much to it. If you
So,
want to do it
girl,
well, if you
if you
want to
want to
do
do
it
it well.
well, there's
Yeah.
so much to it.
So, well, that is going to wrap today's show. Thank you to our incredible guest, Latasia Cox, founder and CMO of Framework Marketing Consulting. We'll have contact information for Framework Marketing Consulting in the show notes for anyone interested in learning more. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next time.